Hello, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Koumei, here with something completely different from the norm. This is the first time I've done something like this, but I was told that this particular forum post has something I've been looking forward to in regards to Warframe, so I figured I'd give it a read and do a bit of a kind of a reaction to it. This here is the Dev Workshop, Koumei and the Five Fates, new player experience and quality of life, posted 10 hours from now by D.E. Taylor. Let's see. Warframe has introduced more than 10 years of systems and mechanics, leaving players with a variety of content to explore. For players who are just starting their Warframe journey, this depth can be overwhelming, causing many to rely on community tutorials and friendly neighborhood tenno in Q&A chat. We've made efforts to improve new player onboarding over the years, but 2024 had seen a concerted effort on this front especially. Here's a recap of new player experience changes thus far. Update 35.1, Solaris United and Vox Solaris Syndicate Sacrifice changes, added Dreamer's Bond Aura mod and various quest improvements. Dante Unbound update 35.5, reduced quest crafting, build times reworked, Railjack Market Bundle, improved Moamp acquisition and various quest and junction improvements. Jade Shadows update 36. Debt bond drop rate rework, void rig acquisition improvements, added awakening checkpoints, improved resource and blueprint location descriptions, moved Deviri to Uranus Junction, and various quest and junction improvements. And the Lotus Eaters update 36.1, new player combat improvements, increased enemy sense on landscapes, reworked excavation objective text and waypoints, and various quest improvements. Every major update this year has included new player experience improvements of some sort, and Koumei and the Five Fates is no different. Let's take a look at what to expect. Now before I continue there, I want to talk about a couple of things here. Firstly, this first one, Dreamer's Bond. Story time here. Back when I was a new tenno, circa 2014, I did not know what I was doing. This was back when my interest in the game was still very low, as I thought the visual style of the game, especially in the Grunier tile sets, were just a little too ugly for my taste. Of course, now I think it's all gritty and beautiful, but aside from that, one of the things I had asked myself repeatedly before bothering to check the forums and wikis and whatnot, where are the aura mods? How do I get them? Which ones are good? If I do get them, which ones would I need? After I had acquired Valkyr, my then absolute favorite frame and the frame that carried me throughout most content, I had found the Rejuvenation Aura mod, and even though it's not exactly meta-defining, it's definitely something that helped me along the way. Putting it on a high armor Warframe with a decent amount of health made me feel practically unstoppable, as there were no consumables, at least at the time, that I had acquired. I didn't have any health restores, I didn't have any builds for health orbs, and so in that case there, the Rejuvenation Aura mod basically carried me. So, I definitely like the idea that Dreamer's Bond exists, because that is a lower battery version of Rejuvenation with some energy regen tacked on. And Energy Siphon itself is not a bad mod to have. However, I do think that having that little bit of health regen tacked on with a little bit of energy regen is a great step up for players who are new and kind of struggling with resource management, especially when in regards to testing a new frame and not being able to use those abilities while at the same time struggling with, just trying to keep their health up, especially if they're not playing in team content and they're solo and all eyes are on them, effectively. Solo was my thing for a very long time before I decided to give up and just play in public, and this mod was definitely a great addition to the new player experience. As for those Syndicate Sacrifice changes, definitely well needed. I remember the climb was a little bit of an uphill battle for me when the Fortuna and Vox Solaris whole thing was new, but of course now it's fine for me, but newer players might not necessarily agree, and I can understand that. This is definitely one of those things that would be kind of confusing, so I'm definitely glad that they had made that change. Next, for the quest crafting build times in Dante Unbound, a lot of new players, myself included at the time, would complain about the long build times for quest-related things. And honestly, yeah, some change like this is definitely needed, as a long crafting time for a quest is an absolute turnoff. It's already hard to convince new players to appreciate the game, despite the long craft times existing just in general. You know, nobody wants to wait 72 hours for a Prime Warframe to complete. So a quest item taking a long time is honestly, you know, understandably frustrating here. So that is actually really nice. I don't really recall exactly what changes had occurred with that Railjack bundle for the market. I remember my sister did not have a Railjack when they came out and was actually a bit distant from that point. And so I was like, you know what, I don't want you to miss out, and building this thing was kind of a bit of a chore, also kind of tied to clan stuff, I believe, at the time. So I decided to buy her the bundle, and then that was it. And then she had a Railjack, and then that was that. But it didn't really exactly feel good that I felt I had to just to keep her caught up. So I'll have to look to see what exactly they changed, but if they're looking at that kind of thing, that's still a good sign in my opinion. Let's see, improved modamp acquisition. I didn't even know, I don't even remember how difficult it was to even get this thing, if it even was difficult at all. I think they gave it to you alongside, which quest? Some quest, I don't remember. And then the junction and quest improvements, always welcome. You know, sometimes players are having a bit of difficulty with figuring out certain things in quests, and other times some players are having problems with certain junctions and certain quests that are required for junctions. I'll have to look into that to see, as to be honest, it's been ages since I've had to bother with a quest or junction. But like I said, with the Railjack thingy and the other stuff, it's nice and welcome that they're actually, you know, improving these things. Debt bonds rework, you know, kind of difficult early on, not so difficult when you're a veteran. So I do love the fact that new players are given, like, I wouldn't really call it onboarding, more so just, you know, improved ways to progress without it being so much of a grind, especially when it came to Void Rig. The same thing that happened with Railjack with my sister, I actually got a Void Rig as well for her, just because the grind was a pain. It required just so much. The Awakening, very nice. You know, sometimes you don't know where you're gonna be. I don't know how easy it is to get killed in Awakening, or if, you know, you decide to leave and then come back and that qualifies as a checkpoint. I honestly am not sure, but if it is what I think it is, where it's just, you know, you have a respawn point or you can continue from where you left off. Either way, it's still nice. I'll have to educate myself on these specific changes and see. Let's see, and then the rest is just self-explanatory from here. Combat improvements, enemy sense on landscapes. Landscapes are huge. These open worlds, it can sometimes be hard to find enemies, even if, like, you know, you're playing a fast frame or you're in your Arcwing and you're moving very quickly. Sometimes you miss enemies, you know. So that's a nice change. So on and so forth. Moving on. Next, let's see, quest changes. When selecting your starter Warframe in the Awakening quest, stats will no longer be displayed by default in on-hover ability descriptions. These stats have been moved to a separate tab in this on-hover pop-up. This change is a part of an ongoing effort to elevate critical information for new players while reducing extraneous details that could lead to information overload. So, wait, so they made it simpler, but Okay, I think I get it. So less is more effectively. The info's there if you need to find it, but up front it's not going to be. Specifically so that way it doesn't make the new players' heads explode when they see all the different health, armor, and shield and energy values of each specific frame. You know, they're new to the game. They're not going to know exactly what's good and what's not. I mean, these stats can help them make an informed choice based on what they want. But if they're completely new, you know, they're not really going to be entirely sure what they want aside from the default fantasy of each specific thing. You know, they take a look at the health on Excalibur and they're like, ooh, this one's kind of tanky, you know, same with the armor value. But then they see the energy capacity on Mag and they're like, ooh, you know, this one is kind of a mage, you know. So, less is more, I can respect it. Alrighty. And next, reduce the hacking puzzle speed in Awakening and Vor's Prize. Since players are learning how to use Grineer hacking consoles for the first time, this change allows them to get used to the mechanic without it feeling too punishing or overwhelming. I can see that. Here's a funny story. I'm actually seeing a lot of content creators coming from other games like Destiny and whatnot, and then I see them do the Grineer hacking puzzle, and they can get it, but it does look like it's moving a little bit quick. So this is honestly nice. Nice little QoL there. Incubating your first Kubro in Hall of the Kubro will now only take 60 seconds instead of the original 48 hours. Many quest crafting requirements were reduced across the board with Dawn's Unbound earlier this year. Now Hall of the Kubro also meets this standard. I like this change a lot. I really do. 60 seconds instead of 48 hours. This is the kind of thing I was talking about here. So, if you have timers in your game, and a player's using it for the first time, regardless of the context, that timer should be quick. It shouldn't be 48 hours, 12 hours, 24 hours. That's a bad impression. It leaves a bad taste in the player's mouth already, and gearing them up for this idea that everything's going to take forever, and that nothing will be quick in any way. Although, of course, when they get around to incubating a second Kubro or a Kavat, or anything else, they're not going to really have that quickness, and then they're going to be disappointed because they're like, oh, what the heck, this was only a minute before. But, you know, this is an introductory thing, so it's understandable and very welcome in my eyes. Next, new player quality of life changes. Unowned mods viewed in the codex will now show their full descriptions and drop locations. Currently, undiscovered mods show the mod's name and 6 question marks in lieu of their description. Players who are interested in these mods would have to go to external sources to learn more about them. With Koumei's launch, they can read their description and drop location in the codex regardless of ownership. Again, going back to aura mods back in the day, and by extension stance mods as well. Those were 2 mod types I had no idea where to get, and I had to do some wiki searching to make sure that I could find them. And even now there are some mods that I genuinely just do not have that I would very much like to obtain, such as, I forget the name, Cyclone Kraken, the other machete stance that I do not have. It's something I would very much like to try, as, you know, I'm only stuck with the original machete stance and I just don't like it. So, having those drop locations on the unowned mods is a very nice change. I'll definitely be making use of that now, because there are definitely some that I'd like to pick up without having to look at wiki and whatnot. Next, selling an unmastered item from your inventory will now display a pop-up message recommending them to rank it up to level 30 or level 40 for over-leveled equipment like the Paracesis before attempting to sell it. This is another method of educating players on the mastery rank system and helping new and old players not miss out on mastery before selling their gear. Ooh, okay. This is something I could have used back in the day. one of the items that I had sold before mastering it was Spectra, and it took me forever before realizing I never really mastered it. And I think there are some others that I haven't mastered, like Sestra, I think, or Dual Sestra. So definitely nice to have. It says here, you have not achieved rank 30 with Amphis. Before you sell it, consider ranking it up to rank 30 to maximize its contribution to your overall mastery rank. Yes, lovely. Next, pardon me. Unlocking an ability will now show the input needed to cast it in the ability unlocked pop-up. New Tenno who rank up their Warframes have little context for what radial blind means without venturing into the abilities screen, but now they will be directed to test out these unlocks via the input on screen. This change applies to all players regardless of mastery rank, so everyone should benefit from this quality of life change while ranking up new Warframes. So I actually really enjoy this, and not just for new players, but as they said, for myself as well, as when I had been leveling up Dagoth when she came out, I had no idea which abilities were which, and I kept getting her 2 and 3 confused just by names alone. Even now I don't even remember what they were, or for that matter what they even do, but knowing what input does what is very nice. And I really do appreciate it. My only thing is, whenever an ability ranks up, in this similar vein, rather than having that input on that higher level of that ability, I would very much like to see what exactly was boosted for that ability. For example, does it get more range? Does it get more strength or duration or efficiency? I mean, now that I really think of it, I never really looked into what increases from the abilities, so that's actually really nice to have, but this is a good start. It's my selfish want, but that would be a nice addendum to that. Next, if a piece of equipment in a player's loadout has 10 plus unused mod capacity and an unused mod slot, a warning symbol will appear next to it in the loadout section of the navigation screen. This only applies to weapons with 10 to 30 unused mod capacity, or for 10 to 40 for Lich/sister weapons, and will not appear if you are mastery rank 30 or higher. The goal of this change is to encourage new players to mod their equipment, and learn about mod capacity as they continue to level up their equipment. So one thing I've seen a lot of the new players that are coming in now do is obviously they're slapping on any mods they can find, because they're not going to have anything good right out the gate, and they're definitely not going to have a lot of mod capacity unless they're streamers and their chat gifts them stuff that already comes with those polarities or not polarities, those potatoes pre-built, and they're going to be like, oh, I have these mods, and even if they're leveled, they're not going to like fully kit them out to like the best of their capacity, even if it's just whatever mods. So I do think this is going to go a long way in getting people used to the idea of modding, because from personal experience, modding makes the difference. Obviously, you're not going to go into you shouldn't go into anything unmodded unless it's either specifically specified, which is never, unless you're doing the stupid Grendel part farms, in which case, screw those missions. But aside from that, no one should really be going in unmodded, and this is definitely going to be something that'll stop new players from tripping themselves up, as like I just said before, modding does make all the difference. I'm really glad that they added that in. Not included in the screenshot above, Mastery Rank 5 players will see an empty mods pop-up and an on-hover tooltip to explain the reason for this icon. Open landscape maps now feature a legend for the advanced map view and new icons for the extraction points, i.e. Cetus, Fortuna, and Necrolisk. Open landscapes operate differently from normal Warframe missions, which can be hard for new players to grasp at first. Saya's Vigil has received changes to reinforce the enter and exit through the Cetus doors mechanic, and this edition expands upon that goal. Okay, so it's basically just like every other map you'd see literally anywhere else. There's a little legend, it shows you what things are and where they are. This is actually really cool, as back in the day when I first went to like Fortuna, for example, and even back in Cetus, I saw these little mountain icons and I thought it was just signifying a mountain and not a cave entrance. So, pretty nice. Fish resource descriptions have been updated to indicate where players can find the fish resource is earned from. Fish descriptions, accessed via chat linking, have also been updated to list relevant information to secure the catch. Cool. Added illustrative diagrams to modding tips in the upgrade and mod menus, and updated these tips to offer relevant information for players learning about modding. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Give players a little bit of a visual example, learn by seeing. Nice. General quality of life changes. In addition to our new player experience changes, Koumei brings a bevy of general improvements that apply to all Tenno. Firstly, Void Relics now display... Hold on. I think this is the thing. Void Relics now display owned and crafted status of their possible rewards. Holy sweet. Thank you. This is exactly what I've been looking for. For context, I've done a stream in the past, just one, but a stream in the past that was literally prime farming. And I had a little checklist up there that showed exactly what I was looking for and what I had retrieved from these relics. But I was just going blind based off a checklist. This right here is a fantastic change. This is effectively removing the guesswork from relic farming. This will allow you to optimize your grind and your runs, regardless of who you are, what frames you have, and what you're trying to get. Vaulted, not vaulted, doesn't matter. You now have that checklist. You now have effectively, you don't need to like make a checklist anymore. Yeah, you're still going to need to put up a little list of the things that you want. And it would be nice to effectively have a checklist to save that will automatically filter out relics based on the things that you select. But that's just me. Again, that's just me and my selfish want. Like, for example, if I put like, I don't know, Grendel Prime here, or maybe not Grendel because Grendel's not on this list. If I put Protea here, for example, it would show only the relics that have her, and then on those rewards it would highlight the Protea Prime blueprints and kind of gray out everything else, but still keep these things here so that way you at least know what other stuff you have and what you're focusing on, you know, figuratively speaking. But anyway, this is a wonderful change. This is going to make not only all Void Fisher runs that much more efficient for you if you're targeting a specific thing, but especially the Omnia Fishers, and with my personal favorite, the Alchemy Omnia Fisher. I am going to grind forever now. Maybe not forever, but I'm definitely gonna make use of this. Is gonna optimize everything in regards to your run. So, big win right here. This is the thing, I am absolutely certain. Let's see. Players can now easily see crafted/owned status of items from their relics when viewed in the Void Relic selections screen and on hover as mission rewards. This functionality also applies to the relic reward selection screen upon successfully cracking a relic. Thank you. That's another thing that I had wanted. This I love this. I really do. This is great. Number 2, Tenno can now favorite equipment. Oh my god. It keeps getting better, everybody. And you favorited the Stug of all things. Forget all these Kuva and Tenet weapons. Forget... Wait. Mark 1 Aklex Pro... That's cursed? Anyway, I don't know which is cursed, the fact that there's a Mark 1 Aclex Prime here, or the fact that the only thing that was favorited was the Stug of all things. Anyway, no more will we have to dig through our inventories or search in the search bar specifically by item. Now, oh my god, Latum is going first. Latum and then Magnus, because I've got a Riven on my Magnus that basically makes it nuclear. So this is fantastic. I love this. When browsing equipment in your arsenal, you now have the option to favorite warframes, weapons, cosmetics, and more. Favorited equipment appear at the top of the list when equipping items in your arsenal, ensuring you always know right where to find them. Never lose track of that one Revenant Prime that you love more than the others ever again. If only you said Hydroid instead of Revenant, but I understand where you're coming from. If you know, you know. Anyway, good change. Alrighty. Number 3. The Fusion screen has received a refresh to simplify UI elements and bring the Fused mod to the forefront. Let's see. What's different? Use the plus negative buttons to upgrade ammo drum. I guess it's just a rework. It looks cool. I'll have to check the original to see the difference. Oh wait, no. Oh right, so this is... Okay, I had a brain fart for a moment. I had completely forgotten that the upgrade screen was like its own little, you know... right above the mod, you just click the little plus and minus and then it's just there. Now it's front and center. So, nice. Bringing it to the forefront and making it obvious. Players can now also fuse any non-max rank mods via the upgrade screen. Doing so brings up the same fusion menu to streamline any changes you make to your builds. So, let's see. Wait. Players can now also fuse any non-max rank mods via the upgrade screen. Oh, so you can... Okay, so when you're modding and you see that it's not max rank, you can go immediately to the mod upgrade screen from there so you can round out your build. Got it. Actually, I'm gonna have to start rounding out some of my things because there's still so many things that are not fully upgraded on my part, and I'm gonna have to fix that. Alrighty. Number 4. Settings that are not set to defaults are now marked with a diamond indicator in the settings menu. This is what the only thing I know about is the non-default little diamonds. This is a nice change. Definitely helpful. If you want to reset that particular setting to defaults, you can interact with that indicator to do so. Also, the reset to defaults option in the settings menu will now only apply defaults to the current settings tab. Oh my god, finally, thank you. I never want to reset my settings because it always just, it was the nuclear option. It was just everything defaults, nothing is different. Oh my god, I am so happy. That's great. Okay, number 5. Purchasing Arcanes from a vendor now displays how many Arcanes you own per rank. So, let's see. Oh! So like... I see. Okay, this doesn't apply as much to me because I only either have one that's as high rank as it can be, or or a bunch that are completely unranked. So this is actually a really good change, especially if you have certain rare arcanes like Arcane Energize or Arcane Blessing, and you're doing events like the previous one. I think it was I forgot the name of it, the one for Jade Shadows, the tactical alert that had gone through. not tactical, or the operation that went through, things like that. Basically, that's going to be super helpful if you are trying to keep a head count on how many you need. I would prefer, if there is one that is not max rank, that it would show a number out of how many needed, for example. So like, let's say you have unowned or unleveled, it would have 1 owned out of 3 required, or 1 owned or 3 required to level, or something along those lines. I don't know. But again, that's just me being greedy. That's still a good change regardless. Let's see. Each filled diamond icon represents 1 rank. Also added the rank UI element to Arcanes and the vendor wares to more clearly indicate that they are unranked. Nice. Already looking forward. If you've offered advice to new players, asked questions about what to do next in-game, shared feedback in our forum/Reddit, or even streamed your first foray into Warframe, you have helped us further refine our new player experience. There's still room for improvement, so here's a look at just some of the changes we're working on that won't make it in for Koumei. Improving quests menu in the codex to clearly distinguish story, Warframe, and side quests. I've seen that they've actually started doing that in the past, so this is nice. Adding small narrative introductions to planets and their assassination targets as players move through the star chart. That's nice to have, but I do feel like for certain bosses there should be a rework to them first, at least before giving narrative introductions. I mean, they are small narrative introductions, so I guess it's fine, but I'm thinking more so for, like, for example, the Sergeant and Hyena Pack. Those 2 bosses, especially the Sergeants, definitely are in need, at least in my opinion, of some kind of change. The Sergeants is literally just some corpus... Oh, excuse me. Nose got stuffed a little. Sorry, I'm allergic to weaklings. Anyway, the Sergeant is definitely a weak little mook in need of an update. He's literally just a dude. He can be just destroyed easily. So, narrative introductions are nice. There are some bosses that don't really need so much of it, like Raptor and, like, for example, Alidvi, and maybe obviously Vor, obviously who else? I mean, obviously what's it called? The stupid quadruped thing. I forgot the name of the Corpus robot that does the spinny walls. You know the thing. Whatever Razorback is supposed to be. Unless that's exactly it. I don't know, I'm stupid. Anyway. That thing doesn't need much of a narrative introduction. But bosses like the Sergeant and Hyena Pack. Also, Ambulance is fine. But, like, I would love to see those other bosses, you know, get some attention. Even Tile Regor, you know, 2 Men of Regor is long over. And funny about that, that was actually the event that was active when I had first started, I believe, back before I gave up, and then long before I came back. I saw that that promo art plastered everywhere. So I personally think his boss should get a little bit of narrative too, but maybe the Nata quest is enough, at least for him. But anyway, nice change. Moving on. Further adjustments to Awakening, Vor's Prize, and other early game quests. Nice. Curating our loading screen tips to player progression. Example, players during Vor's Prize will only see tips focused on beginner controls and mechanics. Okay, very nice. Not telling people about Steel Path early on, if that even is a thing, I don't know. Nice change. This is only a small snippet of what our team has been discussing, but we don't want to overpromise. Should you wish to provide us with feedback on how to improve our new player experience, we've added a dedicated new player experience subforum to our feedback forums, and there's the link. Thanks for reading, Tenno. Alright, so that's a nice little, well, I say little. It's definitely an info dump to be certain. The new player experience has often been the point of pain in regards to starting out the game, so these changes are always nice to see. Eventually we'll get to the point where the new player experience is smooth as butter, but seeing as how a lot of players who are used to looter shooters and other games already are getting in, and not only getting in but also subconsciously or unintentionally providing that visual feedback for what's weird and what's not, this honestly is like, it makes me very happy to see that the players that are coming in and experiencing the game for the first time are the ones driving the whole thing forward. So I really do like that. I like where this is going. I cannot wait for more of these QoLs, especially this. This is a godsend. I'm gonna have to remove my prime farming list because this is so cool. Anyway, I'm gonna check out that dev stream whenever it comes out in case anything new comes around. I don't know if I'm going to do more coverage right away for every little update for like dev workshops and, you know, patch notes and whatnot, but let me know if you want to see more of these and hear my thoughts on the matter. Because honestly, this is new and different for me. I want to start covering more and giving my feedback as a as the freshly minted LR1 who doesn't know what he's doing still. But yeah, with that said, thank you again for watching. Be sure to hit subscribe if you want to see more content covering new Warframe stuff, including things like maybe builds, maybe guides, maybe coverage on new stuff that's coming out. And otherwise, I'll see you another time.